recording in the Embarcadero Park here. So we had a little mishap with the link, so we know a few people will be finding us a little bit later than normal. We also know most people will watch this in replay form or listen to it as a podcast. So we will have 2 segments for questions once again. We thank our live audience for being there, and feel free to jump in there at any point. But as we get going here, we're going to do our official intro as we do, so that it can be used for the podcast and the replay videos and all of that stuff. So we will get to that then. Welcome to Parks and Cons, companion podcast and live show to the parksandcons.com website and YouTube channel, where we discuss cons, theme parks, collecting, and other fun stuff. It's June 23rd, 2025. I'm your host, Sean. I'm here with Carmel.
Hello there.
Parks and Cons, your on-the-spot podcast and live stream, where we take you to the heart of the actual best conventions and themed entertainment events around. Today, we are recording in San Diego for another one of our Comic-Con talks here. This is episode 2 of the season. We had a live stream earlier today to do a tour of the Gaslamp, part 1 of 2 pieces of that too. So if you're interested in that, you can find that there. We thank everybody who's joining us live. We see a bunch of people jumping in saying hello, and hello to all of you. Feel free, obviously, to chat amongst yourselves, and we will be scanning the chat to look for questions, as I said, 2 times during the show. So we'll come to that as we go on. But that said, our day in San Diego, let's just start with the question that we get asked the most always is, how is the weather? And so since the weather this time is, I think today was like the best weather we've ever had on one of these trips to San Diego, I feel like. Let's just go ahead and start with that before we get to the Comic-Con stuff. Like, it was like 69, 70 degrees all day.
It's been incredibly nice today. It actually was a little chilly, so we had been in the shade when we first started, and then I shifted us into the sun because it's a little warmer, but it's been incredibly beautiful, and there's been a nice cold breeze, and it has been very, very, very nice today. It would be amazing if we could have this weather during Comic-Con, but for those of you who have attended in the past few years, that's probably not going to happen. It's probably going to be much warmer, but it was beautiful today.
Yeah, I would, man, this would be amazing. If we have this even for one day of Comic-Con, it would be amazing. But it was nice because when we're doing these videos and lives and stuff, and it's just like, yeah, it's usually pretty humid. And so even if it is in the 70s, like between the sun and the humidity, it doesn't feel that. But today was just absolutely awesome. So outside of that, though, talking about the time down here in the Gaslamp area, one thing that was really nice is just stepping out of we parked at 6th and K, as we often do on these types of trips, but stepping out and just immediately seeing the Tron Ares banners in front of the convention center, because that has popped up since our time down here. I knew the Tron Ares banners were out. I did not realize that they were right plastered in front of the convention center, which is always so awesome to just see it with that backdrop. So I immediately made a way over there from across the street, of course, to get some pictures of that, because they just look great with the convention center, and it has like that official Comic-Con vibe to it.
They do, but I was first shocked when we were getting off the freeway, and I don't remember exactly what street it was. Despite doing this drive, I don't know how many times, I don't remember, but basically we were on the 163. We didn't exit on the 5. We went to straight to where the freeway ends. So I think maybe 10th or something like that. And I was surprised that the banners were all the way out there. It doesn't seem familiar to me that the banners usually reach that far out. So as we're exiting, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's the banners. And it was so cool to see the Comic-Con logo that far out.
Yeah, and we'll see them out like towards the airport, but to see them out in that area, kind of near Now or Never, past that really. And also down here, so we're not far from Seaport Village being here at the park, but the banners are even into the park. Like the turnabout at the front of the park has 3 different, all Tron Ares, but 3 sets of the banners there. And so just, yeah, it was really cool seeing that. And in that vein, seeing the trolley wraps, that they keep every week. There's a little bit more of those showing up. So we saw, Demon Slayer again. We saw Donkey Kong up first for the first time for us. We still haven't seen Mario anywhere. That one we have not seen at all. But then we saw Gachia Katu, I believe, says Gachia Katua from Crunchyroll. And that one looked really cool. We saw that one multiple times. So really, we saw a lot of trolley wraps today, just not Mario at all. But we saw the other ones over and over again. And I expect by the time we are here next week, I don't think there's any doubt that there will be more wraps as well, which is really fun. So it's like those are the two first things, the banners, the trolley wraps. Pretty soon we'll start seeing the hotels getting those wraps coming in, and then it's like, okay, the activations and everything else, so you can just kind of feel the roller coaster ride going with all of that stuff. So
definitely very nice way to start the day.
Yep. We were doing some video work down here. We'll talk more about that as we get along, but let's go to the rundown of some of the news. As we talked about, each week we kind of hit a few highlights of things that jump out for us. It's by nowhere near as comprehensive as like our friends will talk about with the U-Blog tomorrow night on their show. They really dive deep into the news, and obviously on the website itself, sdccblog.com is a place for everything. Everything is there. There's nothing ever missing when it comes to Comic-Con, but we always try to pick a few things that are kind of like, oh, that one particularly captured my attention. And so to start out, I think Shudder having an activation down here is like, so far to me, one of the things I'm most excited about in terms of like outside of Comic-Con stuff. Shudder is a great, streaming platform. Really love that, and the idea that they'll be down here, I think, is a really cool introduction. One of the things we had talked about was the idea of them doing something maybe with the movie they recently acquired, which is all told from the perspective of a dog, a horror movie, an ethereal. In fact, I took a couple notes. It says, from the start, two things are abundantly clear in the movie Good Boy. Indy is wary of the creepy old house, and his affection for Todd, his owner, is unwavering. And that was from Deadline. So yeah, the idea of a haunted house, it's like everybody I've told the premise of that movie, that's a haunted house movie, from the perspective of a dog, seems very excited about that. So that idea, not that that's what Shudder would do.
By it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about a perspective of a dog. That seems kind of strange, but strange is oftentimes good. So yeah, we don't know that. Yeah, that's what it is, but it would be an interesting perspective, and to see how that's put it, walk through experience is interesting.
Or whatever. I mean, you just never know with these activations of, how big, how small any of these things can be. We were talking just about, like, not that there aren't still the street teams, but I do feel like 10 years ago there was a lot more street teams, and street teams was always some of my favorite Comic-Con memories. Like, before there was anything of a kind of Monarch Godzilla universe, I remember like meeting the Monarch scientists on the streets. This was like maybe 2 years before anything had come out in that universe, and talking about what Monarch is and how there's these monsters amongst us, and it's like things like that are really fun. So anyway, really excited to see what they do. I'm very, very curious. Also, in that vein of being excited about something coming, Tron Ares. So as we said, like, the banners are up, but that trailer looks really good. Like, I'm very curious about it to see what that movie all is. But having them down here would be fantastic. And also, then it has come, and again, via our friends from the blog, via the wrap, is that they are going to be in Hall H. So knowing that there's going to be a, true big presence. I mean, between the banners and Hall H, I think we can qualify that as like a big presence for Tron Ares. That's really exciting, especially in this point where we don't have panels announced yet. Of course, little leaks come here and there, but you're just waiting for a lot of information. And there's always this, I feel like this is the time of year a lot of us hear like what's not coming, or you hear like, well, we're not doing this. And then you start to get a little like, what's happening? Like, is there not going to be this? So when you have that early, like, we're going to be there, the banners are up, and we're going to be doing a big presence in Hall H, that feels like it's not just exciting, but it's also sometimes calming to let people know, like, yeah, these people are still coming. There's going to be good stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously from year to year, we don't know, and we, loved the years where it just seemed like every year things got bigger and bigger and bigger, and obviously since 2020, that's not been the case, because every year has just been weird for various reasons. So, but yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned it last week. It's like we all work so hard to get here, to San Diego, but to Comic-Con, whether it's, fighting for a hotel or for parking or saving up the money or the flights or, whatever. We all work so hard that it's like we try to have like this positive attitude about things. And it's like, well, whatever's there, we're going to enjoy it. And obviously we were attending, before, the big productions were even here and stuff. So we've always enjoyed it. But yeah, it is very, very reassuring when we do start hearing these things. And Carrie from the blog, or anyone from the blog, has the the exact timelines of past announcements. But it feels like to me, not having any exact dates in front of me, that it feels like we're getting more announcements and better announcements earlier. And maybe it just means it's all like being announced earlier than later. But it's exciting and it's fun. And so far, what we've heard or what's been announced is exciting, and we're looking forward to it. And hopefully, there's a lot more that comes, and there should be.
Yeah, I think the from last week, the tips we just talk about like enjoying the whole season, and so it is nice to just have the things coming out there to kind of celebrate them throughout the season. Those things that get announced so close to opening night, oftentimes nobody gets to celebrate them to the same way. Now, that said, I still love surprises. I really do love when there's different things, particularly on the side of activations that we don't know about, that just kind of pop up and you're like, hey, over here is this thing going on. So I do love the surprises for sure. But it is nice also to just kind of, it's like you're just getting to celebrate Christmas more days than just the one day or that 1 week.
Agreed. And Carrie did in the comments comment that it's definitely been earlier than normal. This is very 2019 and earlier. And she said, keep this up, everyone. So yeah, everyone keep it up. We want more and more, because more is fun.
Announcements are good. Yeah, the earlier. And obviously, the closer it gets to the convention, the more the announcements get lost. There's so many things that would be like a big deal now. Like I always say, it's a tiny thing, but the Hard Rock has this window at the back of the hotel that they have sporadically decorated over the years. And when they decorate it, it's just they take some comic books, they take some masks, they take some costumes, and they just like put them on mannequins, or they put some statues out, put some action. It's not a big deal. That said, when they do it like now, like if it was done today, it'd be like front page news for the stuff we do, because it'd be like, they're in Comic-Con mode, the Hard Rock, check this out. And the years that they have, people get super excited about it. I think it was last year, or maybe it was the year before. Maybe they didn't even decorate last year. But whatever it was, it was like it happened once, like preview night hit, and we didn't care. Nobody cared. It just didn't matter, because you're like, by the time you get to preview night, or even the week before preview night, we're all much more fixated on things like the panel schedule and like builds for these various companies and stuff. So like now is the time for any of those smaller people, particularly, to get out there and really like promote your stuff, so it gets a good, front page for a while there. And I don't think people forget about this stuff. It just gets people that much more excited. So another couple things here in the exclusive realm. It's been nice seeing Mattel start to make their announcements here. I know the Elvira, the Monster High Elvira doll, very popular. We are around Elvira a lot in terms of like the Halloween world and her presence of merchandise at Not Scary Farm, and her doing signings and photo ops there and other conventions and stuff. And people love Elvira. We love Elvira. We've gotten her to sign things, photos, all that stuff. So it was really neat seeing her get that toy form. I, though, was particularly excited about the Back to the Future Hot Wheels and the Jaws Hot Wheels that we saw today. Particularly the Jaws one looks really cool. But if you did not check those out, if you are at all a fan of either, and they both have big anniversaries this year. We saw that with Universal Fan Fest, with Back to the Future celebrating its 40th and Jaws celebrating its 50th. Those little sets are so ridiculously cool. So loving the Mattel announcements. Know there'll be more to come, and excited for that.
Definitely. And if you're someone who only follows us during Comic-Con, we're big into Halloween stuff. So yeah, we do see Elvira and encounter her in different experiences a lot. So if you stick around through October, you'll see a lot of other fun stuffs, and Elvira will probably make appearances at time to time between now and then for other reasons. But yeah, we do a lot of stuff beyond Comic-Con, as it turns out.
Yeah. NECA did have their pre-sale, and we actually did jump in. So I always have a debate with pre-sale things, because I don't really love pre-sales. I'd rather get them at the show, even though it became more of a battle. There's just, to me, it's just I prefer it. But we have the luxury of living, an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So we drive. Like if we were flying, of course we'd be doing like every pre-sale, undoubtedly. But in the case where we know we'll be able to floor, and we'll be going back. And it's like, so that said, that Tiki Ben Cooper figure is like, oh, that's so good, and the Bride is so good. And it's like, okay, maybe let's just pre-order them. But they have what, it was a 10% tariff charge and the shipping. So basically, the Tiki guy was $25, but now he'd be $40. So not sure if that extra tariff fee is going to be the same on the floor or if there'll be the $25, but ended up kind of stepping away from it because it just seemed like it was almost going to be, with tax and everything, not quite double the price of what it would be. But I was like, okay, we'll roll the dice on this one and see at the floor. But hopefully people that wanted to get their pre-sales in from NECA got it. I really love the work NECA's done the last several years, not just at Comic-Con, but just across the board. I've become a really big fan of their figures, particularly in the monster world, and have really gotten into collecting those. So I'm excited to see the booth. I'm also really always excited to see what reveals they have at their booth, because every year they have really great stuff. This is before even I collected anything NECA. It was always fun going by their booth, seeing what they'd have on display for the next year. But even more so, those Ben Cooper figures in particular, if you are at all an old school Halloween fan, or if you just ever dressed in a Halloween costume in the 70s or 80s, those things are like absolutely intoxicating and incredible. But yeah, the sale came and went, and hopefully people got what they needed to get there, wanted to get there.
Agreed. Yeah, it was different. I think it's the first time that I've gone to a merchant where on the checkout page, there's literally, you basically have to acknowledge or accept that you're willing to pay the 10% tariff fee. So I thought, I because once you decided that you weren't going to get it, I was like, well, let's see, is it a choice? Because it almost makes it seem like it's a choice on whether or not to pay it, but it wasn't. When I removed the agreement, then it just kicked me back to the regular store. So yeah, and so you acknowledge that it's a 10% increase. I'm pretty sure it was 10% increase, and then of course regular shipping. So we'll see how that ends up playing out on the actual floor, but I tend to think we'll be able to get it and stuff. So hopefully that works out okay, because Sean does have lots of those figures already,
yeah.
The other versions.
Similar to the various service fees, I think we talked about them last week in San Diego with the various restaurants and counter service and stuff. I think it's just like different companies have different philosophies. Some are up in their price. In the end, these things have to be, have to be paid for, obviously, of course. Like in the end, if the company's getting charged this extra amount, they're going to need to pass that on to the consumer. That's not a surprise with any of these things. I think it's just different companies have different strategies. Some are raising prices, some are raising prices and adding the service fee. I think I prefer just like make it like the price that it is and not have the extra like 10%, 50%, whatever. But it really doesn't matter. In the case of this one, it's just, the shipping comes into it as well. And of course, they've got that fee there. It did seem that the NECA exclusives hung around a lot longer. I know in the past, sometimes when we've messed with it, I mean, we've got like Alf that way. We ended up getting like 2 Alfs because we like did it that way. And then also being at the show, I like couldn't resist getting one in person or whatever there. But they did seem to hang around a bit longer on this one, or maybe a lot longer, it seems. So I am curious to see kind of when we get to the show, just what the stock is like and how they do hang in. And that goes not just for NECA, but beyond that for any of the exclusives coming to Comic-Con, particularly from those kind of mid to larger companies, the Hasbros, the Mattels, etc., like that. So
definitely. And
then another piece of news, I know I was really excited about this, and I think this was just, maybe it was yesterday that this, the show, sci-fi show Revival, coming to Comic-Con. And that was really exciting because the comic by Seeley and Norton is a really great comic, really great premise, very fun, interesting book. I won't say much about it here because I don't want to spoil things. And the show has a little bit different angle on a few things, but really, really interesting mystery within a mystery within a mystery type of a comic. But then the fact that it was coming to TV, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And immediately when I saw it was going to be on Peacock and then Sci-Fi, was like, okay, this is really feels like a Comic-Con show. Like that's really got to be like something that they would consider for Comic-Con. And then I'm listening to, I think, Word Balloon with John Suntress, who does all sorts of great comic interviews and other sometimes TV shows and things like that. And he had the showrunners on there, and it's like, yeah, we're coming to Comic-Con. And so of course, immediately I sent it to our friends at the blog, and they wrote it up, and it's like, yeah, they're coming, and they're gonna, I think it said that they're gonna have some prettier people than them there, so it implies a cast, and that was really exciting as well. And Revival just feels like old school Comic-Con like vibes of sci-fi. Like sci-fi, for those of you that have been going to Comic-Con for like a decade or longer, you know, sci-fi was a big deal. Like sci-fi had big displays on the floor. Sci-fi had big swag bags everywhere they were giving out. Sci-fi always took over Mary Jane's, and you had Expanse or Eureka or Warehouse 13 or whatever. Like sci-fi was just like the thing I thought of like Comic-Con and sci-fi, they're together. And then over the years, that's changed, and sci-fi has not been quite as present, and Peacock has. And I mean, let's face it, the world we live in, all of these brands get really kind of like messy in how they interact. So it's like, it's Universal, Peacock, NBC, sci-fi, and it's like, just kind of, I think as fans, a lot of times it's kind of like, just give me the sci-fi or just give me the Peacock or whatever instead of these blended things. But I get it, they're all under one umbrella. But Revival really feels like that. I mean, it really feels like something that belongs at Comic-Con. It's the idea that they're coming here, and I really like, I think it's such an easy layup for like outside, going back to the street team thing we were talking about. Like, they could do such a great like street team with people protesting the revivers. You know, the idea that, hey, you guys are here celebrating at Comic-Con. Do you even know what's going on in this town in Wisconsin? These people are back there, and like, it would be such a cool and honestly very cheap for a studio type of thing to do out on the streets, handing out papers about advertising what's going on with this thing, Revival. So anyway, very excited about it. It's definitely, I mean, I don't know what we'll end up doing with it. Obviously, it depends what they offer for it in terms of like panels. We watched the first episode. We don't have sci-fi, but we do have Peacock. We don't have cable. And that was good. It was a fun episode. And so I'm very excited to see what more, and very, very excited to see if they're part of Comic-Con.
Yes, and I've resisted asking you too many questions about the comic because I'm watching the show. I didn't read the comic. And so, yeah, the first episode was fun. I'm definitely up for continuing to watch it. But, yeah, it sounds, yeah, the way you describe the street, excuse me, the street team stuff would work very well. So who knows? But who knows? We'll see. And it's exciting to hear more about what they're going to be bringing to Comic-Con.
And it'd be so cheap. Like, we could literally ourselves get together like 10 of you and just like print some stuff up at FedEx for Revival. Like, it'd be so cheap. But anyway, we'll see if they do anything. But hopefully, I just,
or maybe they'll do something bigger. Who knows?
Yeah, I just always think it adds a lot to have representation outside the convention center as well. To me, street teams particularly add a lot. Of course, love, you know, what FX and Ava Fest and like House of the Dragon, all these big things, love them. But I do think you get a lot of punch sometimes for street teams, and I think Revival is like built for street team type stuff there. So hopefully we see sci-fi come back in a big way with that show, and hopefully we see more of that in the years to come from sci-fi. So and Peacock and all that. So with that said, okay, let's go ahead before we transition to the next segment here and hit our questions. See if we have anything. I know lots of people are chatting. We're not going to read everything there for sake of time and all of that, but any big questions there?
Well, Marceline's Fanzone said that they waved at us when they passed us on 5th this afternoon.
Oh.
Like, we didn't see you, sorry.
We'll wave back now.
And then, let's see. It looks like some first-timers watching, so welcome. We appreciate you joining us live. Let's see. I think Team Rock, and I'm not sure what the rest of the name is, a good spot to take the wife to eat breakfast before they open the doors. I'm not sure if that was a comment or a question. Sorry, I didn't read that all the way through. So I think that maybe a reference to something that we were talking about. Someone's already gotten a list from their friends. Let's see. Castplay is asking if we can talk about what we've seen so far regarding tariffs. And not much, really.
Nothing down here, no. I mean, there's the service fees. That's a whole different thing just in San Diego. And so I think we've seen it kind of interpreted like 3 or 4 different ways. I think it was like a 6% fee. There was an 8% fee. Yeah, so different ways. Oh, they said that it was a question about a place to eat breakfast before hitting the floor. I mean, for us, we don't ever really hit breakfast before going on the floor. I mean, we bring stuff, but we don't actually ever do. We're always kind of on the floor at open. So I guess we'll maybe defer that to the chat to answer that one.
Yeah, if you have questions or suggestions on that, please jump in, because I know a lot of you do love breakfast and brunch. And yeah, we usually don't do that too much ourselves. yeah, in regards to tariffs, we just haven't seen too much on that really. I mean, obviously we hear all the same things you all are hearing out there.
And there's a great article that the blog did that kind of interviewed a number of like artists and how it's impacting them. So that would be a great read to go just see, because I think every business is having to absorb it in different ways. It's all kind of what is your pain threshold and what is your bankroll to be able to do that. So obviously the smaller the vendor, the more it's going to be a challenge for them. So.
Okay, and then it looks like people are chiming in on the breakfast idea. So thank you for that. And Jaron Udom, we're running Magic the Gathering events, artist signings, and all kinds of fun stuff at Comic-Con weekend at Bards and Cards on 5th and E Street.
Nice. So 5th and E, that's straight on down 5th. For those of you that are not as familiar, like straight out the convention center, down past Spaghetti Factory, and straight down there past Ghirardelli there. So awesome. All right, let's get back to our topics here. So previewing some of the things that we have coming up here, we did want to talk real quick about our Facebook group there. For any of you that are in the Facebook group, first off, always the Facebook group, our group is called San Diego Comic-Con, in parentheses, SDCC attendees. So it is for San Diego Comic-Con attendees. It's a really great group. That said, there's always a couple people, not just every year, but every day, that cause problems there. So we do appreciate if you're in the group helping us by reporting posts. Always report anybody being a jerk. Just report it. We don't have time for it, honestly. So like, we love to see when it's reported, because then we just delete, ban them, and then they're gone. So don't allow that. No reason to message us. Just report them. That said, we are adding a couple rules this year. So if you are part of that group on Facebook, we did want to clarify those things coming up there. One, we're going to make it a little more clear that like we don't want the page to be for personal shoppers, meaning over the last 2 years, I feel like it's happened more where people come in and they're like, I'm not going to Comic-Con. I don't have any plan to go to Comic-Con, but can somebody buy me that Elvira doll? Can somebody buy me the Jaws set? Can somebody buy? And it's like, that's not meant for that. Like, it's meant for attendees. It's literally in the name. So if you can help us with that, we're going to make that more clear though in the rules there. Also, we want to make it clear that just with the posts too, it's really important. Over the years, having now a lot of experience, I don't know how long we've run this group. It's been quite a few years now, of just like, there's certain posts that we know are going to ultimately lead to lots of conflict and banning of people. And so when we see those posts, we're just going to take them down. So for example, if we say, you know, I don't know, Comic-Con's really crowded. Do you really think it's a safe place to be? You're just going to take that down, because honestly, I don't know if any place is safe to be. And I don't know that anybody needs that. Like, that's just the type of thing that leads to people getting anxious, angry, upset. Now, that said, there's a lot of Comic-Con groups on Facebook. So I always feel good to know that, like, there's other groups that allow selling of everything,
there's
scalping.
Groups that are meant
everything.
Just for that.
Yeah, there's so many groups. So it's like, I just know people will have a home for all the different conversations they have. We just try to really have it being a very kind of specific thing, and try to make sure that it's very like positive, almost to a syrupy extent for attendees. And then the last thing there, Facebook groups have introduced the AI. So like in ours, it's like Comic Connect, and we hate it. And it's really like not a great addition to it. So we're looking at like trying to get that shut down. But if you see Comic Connect, somebody in there that's answering your questions called Comic Connect, always feel free to report them as well, because that is the AI going in. And like yesterday, I think it asked a question. I was like, what are the worst type of people at San Diego Comic-Con? And I'm like, what in the world is this thing? So we need to investigate, or if any of you know how to shut that down, if that's just an easy thing. I know in other Facebook groups, not ones that we don't moderate, I know people have had issues with that as well. But anyway, so just a few of the things. Did I forget anything on the Facebook group side?
Probably, but basically, you know, be aware that if you're a part of that group, there may be some changes, and they're all just meant to try to make the group a positive environment. We don't want it to be, we don't want it to focus on, you know, the bad in the world. There's enough other stuff out there that, or other places to focus on that. Parks and Cons, as us and our groups and stuff, we really try to make it be the escape from the bad, because there is so much out there. And so, if you can help us out with that, but also, you know, be aware that you may see some different posts from us with some changes coming. So, I'm sure we forgot something, but it'll be there. So just note that's why those changes are there.
Yeah, and the group we run, again, it's San Diego Comic-Con SDCC attendees. So that's what it is. And again, it's meant for attendees. So particularly the personal shopper thing, we really want to kind of shut down this year. Also, then for our Parks and Cons crew, those of you that are supporters on Patreon, we cannot thank you enough for being part of the Parks and Cons crew and all of your support year round. We thank you so much. We do have our annual preview night tour coming up, so that will be coming to Mighty Networks and Patreon to sign up. We do need to get RSVPs early so we can kind of prepare for that. But once again, it will be on Wednesday morning. Once again, we will take a big tour of the Gaslamp and the surrounding area to kind of show you the latest of what we've been seeing and kind of hopefully get your Comic-Con started off right. It's been really fun, the group, the last few years, hanging out with you all and talking and kind of having some time. It's kind of the last of the quiet before the storm, it feels like, of things getting really busy. So it's nice to kind of get together, talk a little bit, and walk around and see all this stuff. Hopefully, I mean, it felt like it got pretty hot last year pretty quick, so hopefully the heat, again, hopefully it's a day like today with the weather. But anyway, if you are a member of the Parks and Cons crew, be on the lookout for that. Sign up, and again, we'll have to cut that RSVP off here in the next couple weeks so that we can make sure to get everything ready and be prepared for that morning. We really do appreciate all of your support. Again, all of the patrons, thank you so much. So, and we also, for those of you that may not know, we also have the bonus podcast over there as well. So we were actually recording that earlier today. So we do have the Parks and Cons, the Eye of the Storm. And so that's additional there. And there's other events throughout the year, our Scary Farm Night, our Midsummer Scream Night, and etc. So more to come there.
Yeah, we do try to schedule some specific IRL things during the year because we are usually running around so much that we do try to get that out so that we can, in our own heads, know that, okay, we're aiming for these certain days, but hopefully no real life stuff, impacts Comic-Con, and we are able to stick to that this year. We obviously scheduled it out as soon as Comic-Con announced the dates. We were like, okay, well, that's when the walking tour is going to be. So yeah, we look forward to that.
Yeah. And then also, as a preview for this week, the video we've been working on down here today has been the Quick Eats. And so that was a video we did for the first time last year. People seem to really enjoy that one. So we tried to build off of that this year. There's some returning locations from last year's recommendations in there. And there's also some new ones. Actually, there's several new ones in there. So hopefully that will be done by the end of this week. And we will send it over to our friends at the blog to put as part of an article and all of that. But as with all of our videos, when we're doing these different type of tip ones, and we say it again in the video, but we really encourage, like, if you have places you want to plug, please feel free to put them in there. So for example, even with Seaport Village in the video, if you decide to watch it, like, we talk real quickly about like crack street tacos, and it comes highly recommended, but we don't really dive deep into all of Seaport Village because the thought was like, maybe it's a little far for people. We tried to keep it a little bit closer to the convention center area. But that said, if you're staying over here at the Manchester, it's like it's not far at all, and it's a really great spot there. So anyway, that video will be coming soon. We spent the day, it's like we didn't really have a meal today. We bought like tiny, like, snack things throughout the day, like, let's get chips and guacamole, so we'd have a little bit of food to show people. But obviously, spending $15-20 on an item at each place, it adds up quickly. So we do try to have a few like real world, like, here's the actual food stuff, and some of them are just like, here's the food through a glass window, or in cases like that. But that video is on its way there. And then I believe it is next week, the goal is to start working on that bigger outside Comic-Con video. So more to come on that one as well there. So swag bag winner. So we announced last week the winner of our bag that we put up there on X/Twitter. We did put a new one up today. I feel like the one I put up today is like one of the better ones. Like, I mean, I feel like they're always good bags. Like, we try to put together like good contests there, but I was looking at today, I was like, oh, this is really nice. Like, I would like to win this one if we weren't the ones giving it away there. So do check it out if you are interested, and then we will announce the winner for that one next week.
Cool.
All right, and then moving on to San Diego Comic-Con tips. And after we get done with the tips, we will go back to questions one more time. So if you do have questions, please feel free to start putting them in there now. But we have been running our SDCC tips as we do annually. You can find them over there on Twitter as well. And so what we've been doing is picking two to kind of highlight. And so first up on that one, and both of these actually have to do with kind of the location and kind of strategy of that. And so the first one is about the escalators and kind of coming to the convention center. And we will do our videos that kind of show like how that works. So for those that are tuning in that are new to Comic-Con, it can be a little intimidating getting on the floor first thing in the morning and like, where do I go for this? And what's the everything else line and things of that nature. So we'll talk about that. But for this tip, it was specifically of like the people that are heading onto the floor first thing in the morning. They're coming down from above Hall H/G. And something really important there, and every year as we're doing that on multiple days of the con, we see people get kind of tangled up in this, but is the far left is what takes you to Artist Alley. So if there's something that you want to do in Artist Alley, if there's a vendor you're looking for, if in the past Funkville is the area you're heading to, that's the far left one. But if you do the middle or the right escalator down, that's going to take you to the center of the floor. And so they literally, and we put video over there on Twitter that you can check out if you want to actually see it, because every year we gather video to be able to use the following year. But you see it, and they have literally it roped off, so you have to kind of go this way. And so we hear from people every single con that are like, but I wanted to get over here in that amount of time, then I had to go all the way to the left, and security isn't going to allow you to deviate from that. So big tip there if anything is anxious. Now, we know a lot of people, like there was somebody asking about having breakfast in the mornings. A lot of people don't need to be on the floor first thing. They're not concerned about that. You don't have to worry about this. You can just delete this from your memory.
Also, if you're just trying to get onto the floor in general, you're not aiming for anything specific, then it doesn't matter which escalator you go down. You go down and eventually you end up on the floor. Yeah. But if you are looking for something and it's a time sensitive situation and you're specifically trying to get a specific place, then yeah, you'll want to pay attention to that option. But otherwise, just any escalator that you can safely get down with all the crowds, go for it. But yeah, if you're time sensitive, you'll want it.
And you can even wait out longer than that and just like skip the escalators altogether and
wait till the doors open.
Get there at 10:30 and just walk in the lobby, or it can be even earlier than that. But I think there's a lot of different ways Comic-Con attendees can be classified. One of them where there's a division of two groups is there's those people that need to be somewhere pretty urgently at or before open, and those that do not. And so we normally, one of my favorite things of the year, like by a lot, like truly one of my favorite things, is coming down that escalator above Hall H and going onto the floor and just seeing what develops. Like, what are the freebies? What are the signing tickets that are maybe being handed out? What are, no wait for a line for an exclusive, anything like that. Like, I love that. I wish that there was more days a year that we could do that, but being there like for opening of preview night and then opening as many of those mornings. Now, usually most years we have something that pulls us away. So I think like last year, we were at I think the Hasbro breakfast on Thursday, and then there was like an offsite thing and stuff. And so there are times that we can't be able to be on the floor, but ideally Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm coming down from Hall H at 9:10 or whatever time they ended up opening the floor and hitting it. So the other one, this is also a location-based one that makes a big difference. If you are coming in on MTS, I remember the first time I realized this, like it really threw me for a loop. I think even in the days that there was a point in time where we did come in, we would park out like Old Town, we would ride MTS in. And the idea that the Gaslamp stop and the convention center stop have such drastically different locations of where they're putting you. So it's like, well, we want to go to the convention center. And so we get off on the convention center stop. And that's really more of the Marriott stop. Like, it's dropping us off at Hall A at best, but it's really before that. So again, we put a video up on the YouTube channel to try to make it clear, I'm sorry, on the Twitter there, so you can check it out. But usually if you're trying to hit the center of the floor, like for morning lineup, or if you're trying to go to Hall H or any of that, it's actually the Gaslamp stop that you want there. So that was something, again, this is many years ago that we were doing that, but it is something we've heard from people over the years too that gets confusing for them sometimes. So
yeah, so depending on where you're headed, if you want one end of the convention center, the Hall A side, then do the convention center drop off. If you want to get to the Hall H side of things, then go the other one, the Gaslamp. But if you're just going somewhere in between, so it really just depends where you're headed at that particular moment. But so either makes sense, but for us of where we're usually going, it's early in the morning. We want to be there open, and we know that the line is going to go around the backside of Hall H behind the convention center or something like that. Then we'd do the Gaslamp. But yeah, that has been a while since we've done that.
Yeah, and those things, I mean, there's so many things are crowded at Comic-Con, and those steps, like if you're heading towards Hall A, that's perfect. You're there for volunteer registration, you're there for ADA access, it makes perfect sense, you're in there. But if you're there just to kind of go line up for the big line that actually is on the other end of the convention center by the Hilton Bayfront, it could be a pretty tough way to start the day for newer attendees. So something to keep an eye on there. So all right, before we go into our Go Watch It and wrap up segments there, let's head back to the chat and see if there's anything else that we need to address. Last chance to throw in any questions or things of that nature.
Okay, so Jaron also added to be sure to check out Now or Never Comics in East Village. They always have cool signings and such.
Yeah,
and
Aaron and Zach, they're very good friends of the show and everything. So yeah, we always are recommending them for sure.
And we usually pop by there most of our
times,
visits. So fully endorse that.
Yep.
Night Bodega, Manny asked if there was any construction on our way to downtown. If you mean just general construction, yes. If you're asking about builds of offsites, definitely too early for that. But yeah, lots of construction just in general.
Yeah, and on the construction note, just is over in front of the Bayfront, that work that has been going on for many, many months will continue to go on for many, many months underneath the bridge across from Bayfront over to the Petco Park area there. So if you're coming in and driving in that area, which is not the way that we normally are coming in, but definitely something to watch out for.
Yeah, and then Chad, who is one of our Patreon supporters, and I think a moderator in the Facebook group, also added to please keep it SDCC related. So
thank you.
Thanks for the reminder, and we'll be sure to make sure that that is addressed in there. I think it is, but we're taking a look at all that stuff on the group, so we'll definitely do that.
The thing is with the group, like there's questions, just like anything in life, like people answer questions, they agree to rules, but people don't actually read them a lot of times. And so somebody wants to get something from Comic-Con and they just join the group and say, yeah, I'll do everything. And then they don't always.
All right. So we'll try to make that more clear. And then Pandora 576 asked if we've been to the Doctor Who exhibit at the Comic-Con Museum.
Yeah, we have a full video. It's like over an hour of like opening night. We were there for the opening ceremony, so to see the dedication and all that. And it was wonderful. I don't remember. I think I believe we had a little bit of time with the director there too and stuff. But anyway, there's a video of it all there. Really enjoyed it. We are big fans of the Comic-Con Museum in general, but in particular, this Doctor Who exhibit is really cool. It's really, really something to be seen.
Yeah, definitely. And it'll be there until March. Yep. So if you're not going to be, if you don't have time during Comic-Con, you can come at a different time if you're in the area, or if you are not from the area, it's definitely worth a stop.
Totally.
So let's see. Then Pandora 576 asked for Patreon. She signed up yearly last year. Do we know if it auto renews? I think it auto renews, I don't know, but I would need to double check on that. So I will, if you wouldn't mind sending me a message or something a little later, and I'll check into that for you. But
thank you.
I think it does. Yes, obviously. Thank you for the Patreon support. Chad commented that he loves the walking tour.
Thank you, Chad.
We appreciate that. Let's see. Chad commented that if he remembers correctly, last year on preview night, they didn't divert you into different directions.
Yeah, I think there was something to that on preview night. I think, though, that was because they weren't all on the same page quite yet.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, last year, ops and security was a little off.
Yeah.
As for previous years.
But that's a great point. There's a tip that we have later, but it's always about like check, double check, and then just be ready for things to change. But yeah, this is a massive machine, and sometimes the machine has different people operating different arms. And so what I had said about that tip, I mean, it's very possible they have a whole different thing that happens, you know. And so yeah, everything with a grain of salt, everything. All we can always ever do is really kind of go by what generally we find. But yeah, actually, thank you very much for bringing that up.
And then Bazinga004 said, I forgot, but wasn't there one escalator going down that kicks you out of the convention center? Was that just a one-time thing that security was redirecting people? I think that's
yeah, you're hidden. That was one of the problems. Yeah, it was very messy. Yeah, this is bringing back flashbacks of how messy preview night was with some of the security last year. Yeah.
Although Night Bodega, Manny pointed out that maybe after you get your free bag, so there are multiple escalators, and so if you were on that end and just got your bag, then yes, maybe you got pushed out, and I think that generally happens. But then you get pushed out so that you can go get into the line to actually get on the floor. So that's also possibly what that experience
And when we do
was.
our video floor, we'll do, we'll kind of go over like again the most frequent of these things. And again, everything can change. It's always, everything is the way it is until it's not that way anymore. So, but yeah, we'll address it in those videos too.
And then Justin Cosplay asked if offsites have started reaching out.
So I think that's meaning like we usually do talk about like, well, we know that there's some cool things coming that can't really talk about yet or things like that. And there's definitely some of that. Yeah. There's definitely some cool stuff coming out in terms of like specific, like come out on this day or that or announce yet. Not so much. I mean, I think that shutter activation was one of the earliest ones so far this year, but I think it'll be a good year for activations. We'll see.
Yep. Hopefully so. Castplay asked, Hall H escalator goes into exhibit hall, ? Is this only on preview night? I seem to remember it just going into the lobby.
No, it comes down into the lobby and then you split off onto the exhibit hall. So yeah, it's not physically into the floor. You come into the lobby and then go onto the floor. And we'll show when we do those videos, like we actually have the full walkthrough from last year's Comic-Con to show like the full thing. So we'll share that.
Yeah, and again, if you got there a little later after the initial, then things change. But when it's that first lineup, when they're first letting people onto the floor, that's what we're talking about in this division and stuff, because then it changes. But yeah, usually it's supposed to work that everybody who's lined up on the outside of like ADA, but regular attendees trying to get onto the floor, you're going to either be in sales pavilion or you're going to come down the escalators near Hall H, and then and they'll usually let those people onto the floor first, and then they'll let people in from the lobby. But they've in past years have been very, very good about that. Last year, as we said, things were a little different, but that's how it's supposed to happen. Let's see. Funko area was hard to get. I always wondered how to get tickets. Well, to get to the booth, they're usually part of the lottery that you're going to enter.
The online portal, the Comic-Con will have more information about that, of what booths are part of that to register there.
And that's usually what's needed for Funko.
A little bit closer, yeah.
And then there's a question, to get your bag, is it still on top? We got our badges in the mail. So
as of now, yes. But I mean, we always even wonder, like the bags themselves, like there's not been any announcement yet about the bags. We hope that would be the case. Hopefully, there's something as similar to what we've had with the Disney or the Warner Brothers or the Fox, or it's been, a few different things over the years. But yeah, that generally speaking, a lot of these questions too are things that start to hit a little bit more, honestly, usually after July 4th. There's a lot of things that kind of hold a little bit to that July 4th line. I know for us, we're always at Anime Expo covering that, and it's always like, that's when Anime Expo's ending, we're like, here comes the flood, and we're starting to find out some things maybe even at Anime Expo, and then it's like over, and it's after July 4th, and it's like, here comes the flood of those. So yeah, like bag announcements should come hopefully after that.
Okay. And then the Traveler said, first timer here.
Welcome.
Welcome to here. And if you mean the show as a whole, enjoy. But let's see, just got badges in mail. Does SDCC provide lanyards at check-in?
Yeah, that is where they would be picked up as well. So normally you go, you pick up your badge holder, your lanyard, and then get a bag and get the program. And yeah, that's all part of kind of that pickup on Wednesday. So it's always fun.
But if you want to bring your own lanyard, you can do that and just have it ready to go. If you have the stretchy kind, that kind of comes in handy because you'll have to tap in, tap out with your badges. And for me, being super short, it's not an issue. I just use a regular lanyard, but Sean uses the stretchy one because otherwise he's constantly bending down. So you can bring your own, or wait till you get there. Castplay asks, do you have another live stream like this scheduled? It's great.
The goal will be to do another one next week. And so actually we'll get to that in a second here, but yeah, thank you.
And then a Photic Photon said, y'all think Hulu Anime Mayhem will be back?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm curious and I'm hopeful. It was interesting because what we saw like last year is we saw them at Anime Expo in a smaller version, still a big version, but like they had a nice booth at Anime Expo, and then they came to Comic-Con and just blew it up like in a really massive way. So I think our first clue on that will be seeing them at, I know they announced a couple panels for Anime Expo, but hopefully we see them there, and then I think that adds to the hopes that they'll be back. I hope so.
And then I think the last question, Scott Daigle asked, any guesses if carpeting will ever be back?
It's a great, I mean, I know I'll never stop on that. I think it's incredibly important. I think, and somebody who's had, I think my feet have been cut into 8 times in the surgeries I've had on my feet. Like, it's really like a physical difference between carpet and no carpet, but outside of that, not even that, to me, it's so much about the optics. It just looks visually very different with carpet. Like, it's just, there's a professionalism that comes with carpet, but it is crazy expensive. And so all I think on my end is just hoping that the things heal economically and continue to go to a positive place where that's possible to happen again. So I hope so. I don't know, but I hope so. I'll never stop hoping on that one.
Agreed. And then Brando the Cat asked if there's any word if Fantastic Four will be screened like Deadpool was last year.
No, it felt kind of hinted at in what Feige had shared, whatever it was a month ago, but nothing official yet. So I think a lot of us are anxious to see what that. I know we bought our Fantastic Four tickets for a local theater to go see it that way. We would much rather see it in Hall H, and hopefully we can get into Hall H to see it, and hopefully it's there, but we'll see. But definitely that movie is like very important to me. It's like kind of the most important in a lot of ways to me in terms of Marvel stuff. So I am very excited for it. So we'll see.
Yep. And I think I think those are the only questions I've seen. So
thank you guys so much.
And we do also very much appreciate the chat and stuff, and people jumping in and answering questions and stuff, because obviously we may have missed something, and we all have different experiences and different priorities and stuff. So we definitely appreciate the comments and the input.
100%. So some things to go watch on our YouTube channel. If you've not checked out yet, we do have our backpack video updated for 2025. A new video there is over on the channel. Also, we released a sweet treats video there. So if you're interested in some of the spots that we found that we thought were worth recommending to check out for the for the best in the sweet options around the area here. As I said, we had last week's live show, so that's there with all sorts of talk. If you wanted some more Comic-Con talk and you missed it from last week. Also, we have our Gaslamp tour from today. It was about 20 minutes. We did 5th Street and then came back on 4th and looked at that and kind of did a circle. Then I don't think it's going to be next week. It'll probably be a week or two after that, but we'll be back. We'll do the rest of 5th Street will go up, and I shouldn't say the rest because it goes on for a while, but we'll do more of 5th Street and then come back and hook back around over by areas like Broken Yoke and all of that.
6th.
So on 6th, yeah. So watch for that coming in the near future there. But again, part 1 is there. It's about 20 minutes of looking at what restaurants are open, what things are not open, what spots might be good for activations this year, and all of that. And then the goal is, as the question was earlier, to be back for the next one of these a week from today. So the goal is to be back down here next Monday, same time would be the plan right now. Although that said, we'll be looking at things, and then we'll obviously put it out on social media there to let people know what is coming coming up there. So we do thank all of you for joining us here in the live chat, and for those that are listening to the podcast or the replay, thank you so much. We appreciate hitting that like button and sharing social media and all of those things very much. It all goes a long way. As we wrap up here, we will do our, because I should say this is all available on the podcast feed too. So for those of you that are even watching live, if you want to take it in a different format, we know we get a lot of people that say they like to like re-listen to the shows, or sometimes by going to the podcast thing, it's like easier to note different things. That will all be available there in the next couple of days too. Once again, we want to thank our Parks and Cons crew so much for their support on Patreon. We thank you so much. We also thank those of you that have donated via PayPal links. We had a couple donations last week from people on PayPal. Thank you very much for all the support. We do greatly appreciate it. If you've not already done so, please give us the likes on the videos or positive reviews wherever you find the podcast. All of those help. You can follow along with us in real time on social media at Parks and Cons on X, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and of course, YouTube. Wrapping up here from the home of San Diego Comic-Con. Until next time, we'll see you in line somewhere.